The alien queen married her Barren daughter to a human and froze when she saw her grandchildren year. From her throne room high above the central square, alien Queen Zelaria observed the busy streets below. She was a figure of power and authority, her scaled skin shimmering like polished metal, her eyes sharp and calculating. Around her, advisors whispered quietly, reporting on matters of diplomacy, defense, and trade. Yet today her attention was fixed elsewhere. Her daughter, Lyra, stood beside her in elegant robes of silver and blue. Lyra's long, slender form carried an elegance the court admired, but there was a quiet tension around her. Despite being admired for her intelligence and insight, she carried a stigma her people could not ignore. The oracle had long predicted that Lyra would never bear children, a rare and unfortunate fate in their species. In the alien world of Zoria, fertility was tied not only to personal honor, but to the legacy of the empire itself. "You are worried, my daughter," the queen said, her voice calm yet commanding, echoing slightly through the high-ceilinged chamber. Lyra bowed her head. "It is not fear, mother, only uncertainty. The human is very different from us. I do not know how we can connect." Zelaria's eyes glinted with a mixture of pride and calculation. "It is not about connection, Lyra. It is about alliance. The humans may be unpredictable, but they are strong, clever, and adaptable. That is why we need them, and that is why you must marry James Albright." Lyra's shoulders stiffened. James Albright was a human diplomat from the Sol system, sent to negotiate an alliance between humanity and Zoria's empire. The humans were curious creatures, fragile in appearance but brimming with creativity and boldness. For centuries, Zorians had studied other species, often dismissing them as primitive. But humanity had survived against odds that would have destroyed stronger civilizations. That alone demanded respect. "Mother," Lyra said softly, "I do not wish to disappoint you. But I do not know if I can be what this alliance expects." Zelaria regarded her silently for a moment. Then she leaned forward, her scaled fingers resting on the arm of her throne. "You already are what this alliance needs. You are smart, compassionate, and cautious. James will learn from you, and perhaps you will learn from him. The rest will take care of itself." Lyra exhaled, though tension remained in her chest. She had been preparing for this meeting for weeks, practicing polite smiles and diplomatic gestures, yet the thought of interacting with a human, someone so different in every way, filled her with unease. The human delegation arrived in the capital city aboard a sleek silver ship that shimmered under Zoria's twin suns. James Albright stepped out, tall and lean, with dark hair and eyes that reflected intelligence and curiosity. His uniform was simple but elegant, adorned with the emblems of Earth's Interstellar Council. When James first entered the throne room, he froze for a moment. He had expected aliens to look different, but the scale of their beauty and sophistication was overwhelming. The crystal towers, the polished floors, the soft hum of the energy systems. It all spoke of a civilization centuries ahead of Earth in technology and culture. Yet there was something in the calm authority of Queen Zelaria and the gentle, thoughtful presence of Lyra that made him feel welcome rather than intimidated. "Welcome to Zoria, Ambassador Albright," the Queen said, her voice echoing with quiet power. "You have traveled far to meet us. We hope that your stay will be both fruitful and enlightening." James bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I am honored. My people have long admired the achievements of Zoria, and I hope this visit will mark the beginning of a lasting friendship." Lyra stepped forward, her hands folded neatly before her. "I am Lyra," she said softly, her voice melodic yet firm. "I will be your host during your stay. I hope you will find our home interesting." James smiled politely. "I am sure I will." There was a moment of awkward silence as both sides observed each other. Lyra's mind raced with questions about this human's habits, his ways of thinking, and the strange expressions he used. Humans were unpredictable, sometimes illogical, yet there was a spark in their eyes that suggested they could adapt and create solutions where others failed. Zelaria cleared her throat. "The purpose of your visit is twofold," she said. "First, to discuss trade and technological exchange. Second, to formalize the alliance through marriage." The words hung in the air. Lyra felt her stomach tighten. James's face remained calm, but a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes. "Marriage?" he asked cautiously. "An alliance marriage," the Queen explained. "It is customary among Zorians to seal alliances with bonds of family. In your case, it will strengthen ties between our peoples and ensure cooperation for generations to come. James nodded slowly. I understand. It is unusual for humans, but I see the value in your traditions. Lyra's heart beat faster. She had imagined many things about this meeting, but never the idea that she would be expected to marry a human, a creature so different in thought and culture. Yet she also felt a strange curiosity. What would it be like to learn from someone whose mind worked so differently from her own? Over the next few days, James and Lyra were assigned to work together on a project, a survey of Zoria's orbital defense systems. They spent hours aboard a shuttle, traveling between orbital stations, observing technology and discussing strategies. At first, conversation was cautious, formal, filled with cultural misunderstandings and polite corrections. You humans are interesting, Lyra said one evening, studying a holographic map of asteroid paths. You do not always follow patterns, yet you often find solutions that would escape even our most advanced algorithms. James smiled. We have to improvise sometimes. There is no guidebook for everything. We rely on observation and creativity. Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Creativity, that is not something we emphasize in our training. Logic, precision, and discipline are valued above all, yet your methods seem effective. James chuckled. Sometimes the unexpected path is the right one. As they worked, Lyra began to notice other things about James. His patience, his curiosity, and the way he respected the technology and traditions of her people. In turn, James admired Lyra's intelligence, her ability to analyze complex systems, and her compassion for her people. Slowly, a bond of respect and friendship began to form between them, one built not on obligation, but on shared effort and mutual admiration. Meanwhile, Queen Zelaria watched from her throne room. She observed every gesture, every conversation, every fleeting glance between her daughter and the human. Her advisors whispered that this alliance might fail, that humans were too unpredictable, too emotional. But Zelaria was not convinced. There was something in the human that intrigued her, a spark she had seen only in the most remarkable of beings. Observe carefully, Lyra, she said to her daughter during a private moment. Do not let fear cloud your judgment. Humans are clever. They survive, adapt, and sometimes they inspire. Learn what you can and do not dismiss them too quickly. Lyra nodded, though she was unsure what to expect. There was a mixture of fear and curiosity in her heart, but also a growing sense of excitement. Perhaps this union would teach her more than any lesson she had ever learned in the palace. Perhaps it would change her world, and the Empire itself, in ways she could not yet imagine. One evening, aboard the orbital station, James and Lyra gazed out at the glittering stars. The station hummed softly around them, a testament to the Empire's engineering skill. Lyra turned to James, her voice almost a whisper. Do you ever wonder, she asked, if humans and Zorians can truly understand each other? We are so different. James looked at her, thoughtful. Maybe understanding isn't about being the same. Maybe it's about respect, patience, and willingness to learn from each other. Lyra considered this. For the first time, she felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps despite her fears, this human and this unusual marriage might not be a burden but a bridge. As the twin suns set over Zoria, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold, Lyra felt a quiet determination settle within her. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. Yet she also knew that humans possessed a strength that even her people had underestimated, the courage to face the unknown and the ability to adapt in ways that defied expectation. And perhaps, she thought, that strength was exactly what they all needed. The orbital station floated silently above the sparkling blue of Zoria's largest ocean, its hull reflecting the twin suns, light like polished metal. Inside, Lyra moved among the control panels, her long fingers tracing the complex diagrams of the station's defense systems. Every detail was precise, every calculation exact. She prided herself on understanding every mechanism, every algorithm. But today, there was an unfamiliar presence beside her. James Albright leaned over the console, studying the holographic map of orbital satellites and planetary defenses. His brow furrowed, not in confusion, but in concentration. Humans had a way of approaching problems that was different, Lyra noticed. While Zorians focused on exact precision, humans often explored possibilities that seemed unconventional, even risky. You see, Lyra, James said, pointing to a cluster of satellites. If we adjust their orbits slightly, we can create a buffer zone. It might reduce the strain on the central power nodes and make them more efficient. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You propose a change that risks destabilizing the network? James shook his head. Not destabilizing, optimizing. It's a small risk, but the benefit is large. Humans call it thinking outside the box. Lyra paused, considering his words. She had been trained to avoid risk at all costs, to follow protocol strictly. But James' suggestion made sense in a way her calculations alone could not show. There was creativity in it, a human strength she had never fully understood. Very well, she said finally, a hint of a smile on her lips. We will try your method, but I will monitor every step. James grinned. That's fair. Over the next few days, Lyra and James worked closely on the orbital defense systems. Their interactions began formally, filled with cautious politeness, but slowly transformed into genuine collaboration. Lyra found herself laughing at James' strange expressions when he mispronounced Zorian terms. James, in turn, marveled at Lyra's quick mind and deep understanding of technology far beyond human experience. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, they sat in the observation lounge, studying star charts. You know, James said, tracing a line along the holographic projection, humans often use patterns from nature to solve problems. We look at rivers, trees, and even the way birds fly for inspiration. Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Nature as a guide. We rely on calculations and logic, but perhaps there is value in your approach. Adaptation is efficient. James nodded. Sometimes solutions are not in equations, but in observation. Humans survive by noticing what others ignore. Lyra considered this carefully. She had always believed that rules and structure were the foundation of survival. But perhaps there was another way, another form of strength, and it came from humans. The queen, from her palace thousands of kilometers away, watched her daughter and the human with increasing curiosity. Reports reached her that Lyra and James were achieving remarkable results, completing tasks that would have taken 2 Zorian engineers months to finish. Yet it was not just their efficiency that intrigued her. It was the bond forming between them, a connection built on respect, collaboration, and a shared goal. In a private audience, she spoke with Lyra. Do you feel comfortable with him? Lyra hesitated. Comfortable, mother, is not the right word. I respect him. He sees what I could not, and he challenges me without disrespect. I enjoy working with him. Zalaria's eyes softened slightly. That is unexpected, but remember, strength is not only measured in power or knowledge. It is also measured in the ability to learn, to adapt, and to inspire. Observe carefully, Lyra. Humans have a way of showing strength that may surprise you. Lyra nodded, though her mind was full of questions. What did it mean to bridge 2 worlds? Could someone so different truly become a partner, not just in duty but in understanding? Their next project took them to the surface of Zoria. A massive asteroid field loomed in orbit, its trajectory threatening a small human colony on a nearby moon. The Queen had tasked them with designing a solution that would protect both the colony and Zoria's orbital systems. As Lyra guided James across the alien landscape in a sleek hovercraft, she marveled at the rugged beauty of her homeworld. The terrain was harsh, yet full of life adapted to extreme conditions. Humans would find it dangerous, she thought, but James moved with careful confidence, observing, learning, and occasionally offering suggestions that proved insightful. This moon's gravity is weaker than Earth's, James noted, examining a data readout. If we deploy small drones along the asteroid paths, we can redirect the smaller rocks without using excessive energy. Lyra frowned. Your plan relies on human intuition and improvisation. It is unusual, but I see your logic. Very well, we will implement it. The work was meticulous, requiring precision and timing. Together, they coordinated drones, adjusted orbital calculations, and ensured the safety of the colony. Throughout it all, Lyra noticed something remarkable. James did not rush, even under pressure. He considered each move, adapted quickly when unexpected problems arose, and remained calm, a human ability to stay composed that Zorians rarely exhibited under stress. By the end of the day, the asteroid field was managed. Both humans and Zorians hailed the success as a triumph of cooperation. Lyra felt a sense of accomplishment she had never known before. It was not just the success of the mission. It was the knowledge that two very different minds had worked together to achieve something extraordinary. That evening, they returned to the orbital station. Exhausted but exhilarated, they shared a quiet moment in the observation deck. The stars stretched infinitely before them, countless worlds and possibilities beyond imagination. "You know," James said quietly, "I never imagined working with an alien would be like this. I expected rules, hierarchy, distance. But this feels like we're really learning from each other." Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, perhaps there is more to this alliance than politics. Perhaps we can understand one another after all." James glanced at her. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" "Beyond duty, beyond missions?" Lyra hesitated. The thought of marriage, of partnership, had always seemed formal, distant, and defined by protocol. But now, after days of working together, she felt something different. Curiosity, respect, and perhaps the first stirrings of trust. "I think about it," she admitted softly. "But I do not know the answer yet. Everything is new." James nodded, a gentle understanding in his eyes. "Then we take it one step at a time. We learn, we adapt, and maybe, just maybe, we find something remarkable together." Meanwhile, back in the Queen's palace, Zalaria convened her council. "Observe them closely," she said. "The human may not only be useful in diplomacy, but he may change the way we see strength. Watch carefully, learn what you can." Her advisors exchanged uncertain glances. Humans were unpredictable. They were emotional, impulsive, and sometimes illogical. Yet Zalaria's intuition told her there was something extraordinary in their way of thinking. Something worth noticing. Days turned into weeks. Lyra and James continued to work together, solving problems that challenged both human and Zorian logic. They found ways to combine creativity with precision, intuition with calculation. Each success built trust, and with trust came understanding. Lyra realized that humans were not weaker than Zorians, they were different. Their resilience, adaptability, and courage under pressure made them remarkable in ways that even the most advanced alien technology could not replicate. One evening, as they returned from another mission, James paused near the observation deck and looked at Lyra. "You know, I've never met anyone like you," he said. "Your mind, it's incredible. You see patterns I could never notice, and yet you're willing to listen to adapt. That's rare." Lyra felt a warmth she could not name. Compliments were uncommon in her culture, especially for those in her position. Yet this human, so different, so unexpected, spoke with sincerity, not flattery. "You humans have a way of surprising me," she admitted. "I thought I would find your species frustrating. Instead, I find it inspiring." James smiled. "Then we are learning from each other as the Queen hoped." Lyra nodded, looking out at the stars. She thought of the vast universe, of the endless possibilities beyond her homeworld, and of the strange and unexpected journey that lay ahead. She no longer felt fear or doubt. Instead, she felt a growing sense of hope. Perhaps, she thought, humans and Zorians could not only work together. They could grow together, learn from each other, and achieve things neither species could accomplish alone. And in that moment, as the twin suns disappeared behind the horizon and stars sparkled like diamonds above, Lyra realized something remarkable. This human, this unexpected ally might just change her life, and the Empire itself, forever. Lyra and James had been working together for weeks, their cooperation now almost seamless. The orbital stations hummed with life and activity as both humans and Zorians monitored systems, exchanged data, and trained drones for interstellar surveying missions. Lyra had come to admire James not just for his ingenuity, but for his patience, courage, and ability to remain calm under pressure. One morning, a message arrived from the Queen's palace. The words were formal, but the meaning was clear. A nearby asteroid field, far larger and more dangerous than any they had encountered, was drifting closer to the inhabited moons of Zoria. If it collided with the moons, colonies of both humans and Zorians would be in danger. The mission was urgent, and Lyra and James were tasked with leading the operation. "This will test everything we have done," Lyra said, reviewing the new data. "The Queen expects results. The colonies cannot be harmed." James leaned over the console, studying the asteroid trajectories. "We can't move them all at once, too many variables, but if we work in stages, we can use the drones to nudge them gently into safe orbits." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "It is ambitious." "Many would consider it impossible," James smiled. "Humans often succeed where others think failure is inevitable." they assembled a team of engineers and operators, both human and Zorian. Coordination was key, as the drones needed to operate in perfect synchronization to avoid collisions. The plan was intricate, demanding precision and adaptability. As they prepared, Lyra noticed something unusual. During the mission planning, she felt a strange warmth in her chest, a sensation she could not identify. She dismissed it as stress, but over the next few days, the feeling persisted. James, focused on calculations and strategies, did not notice, but Lyra wondered if the change in her body had begun, an impossibility according to Zorian science, yet undeniable. "This is going to be the hardest challenge we've faced," Lyra admitted one evening, looking out at the stars from the observation deck. "If we fail, the consequences will be catastrophic." James stood beside her, calm as always. "We won't fail. We learn, we adapt, and we support each other. That's how humans survive, and it seems Zorians do as well." Lyra smiled faintly. "Perhaps we are more alike than I thought." The operation began at dawn. The drones moved like coordinated flocks, following algorithms designed by Lyra and enhanced by James' intuition. The first wave of asteroids responded well, nudged gently into safer paths. Cheers echoed through the control room. But the second wave was larger, irregular, and unpredictable. Some asteroids shifted unexpectedly, colliding with smaller debris and sending fragments hurtling toward the moons. The team held their breath. James adjusted the drone patterns, recalculating in real time. "We need to redirect the secondary drones faster," he said, fingers moving rapidly over his console. "Lyra, can you modify the control sequences?" Lyra nodded, heart pounding. "I will try." Together, they worked in perfect unison. Lyra's calculations combined with James' improvisation, creating a dynamic strategy that adjusted in seconds to the erratic movement of the asteroids. Slowly, carefully, the danger passed. The colonies were safe. The asteroid field, once a looming threat, was now stabilized in a series of controlled orbits. The room erupted in celebration. Engineers hugged, operators cheered, and Lyra allowed herself a rare smile of pride. James looked at her with admiration. "See, we did it together." Lyra nodded, still catching her breath. "Yes, together." In the days that followed, Lyra began to notice more unusual changes. Her body, which the Oracle had long claimed could not bear children, now showed signs of fertility. At first, she kept it secret, unsure if it was real or a trick of her imagination. But as time passed, the changes became undeniable. The Queen, ever observant, noticed the subtle signs. Advisors whispered that miracles were rare among Zorians, but the Queen remained silent, observing. When Lyra finally confided in her, the Queen froze, not with anger, but with astonishment. You are fertile?" Zalaria asked, her eyes wide. "Impossible, according to all records, you should never," Lyra nodded. "I do not understand it, Mother, but it is true." Zalaria stood silently for a moment, trying to reconcile centuries of science with the miracle before her. Then she spoke, her voice steady. "Perhaps humans have changed what we believe to be unchangeable." Lyra was unsure what the Queen meant, but she sensed a shift. The Queen, always commanding and reserved, was now reflective, almost vulnerable. It was the first time Lyra had seen her mother react not with authority, but with awe. As the weeks passed, Lyra and James continued their work on joint projects. The asteroid operation had proven their ability to cooperate, but it had also revealed something more profound. Humans and Zorians, though different in every way, could complement each other perfectly. Lyra's logic and precision, combined with James' creativity and adaptability, created solutions neither could achieve alone. One day, while reviewing data from a survey of a distant asteroid belt, James paused. "Lyra, I've been thinking. The way we solved the asteroid problem, maybe this is just the beginning. There are countless threats and opportunities in the galaxy. Together, humans and Zorians could achieve incredible things." Lyra considered this. She had always believed that her role was limited to the Empire, to duty, to her people. But now, with James by her side, she glimpsed a larger purpose, one that extended beyond politics or protocol. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we are only beginning to understand what cooperation can achieve. Perhaps this is the future." The Queen summoned Lyra and James to the palace for a private audience. The throne room was vast and silent, filled with soft light reflecting off the crystal walls. The Queen sat on her throne, her eyes fixed on them. "You have done well," she said finally. "The colonies are safe. Your cooperation has been exemplary, but there is more." "Something I did not expect." Lyra exchanged a glance with James. "What do you mean, Mother?" The Queen's gaze softened, though it remained intense. "You, Lyra, are fertile. Against all expectation, against all precedent, life grows within you, and it is not simply a miracle. It is a sign that humans, through their strength and ingenuity, can influence even what we believed immutable." Lyra felt a mix of awe and fear. "I do not know what to say." "You do not need to say anything," the Queen replied. "Just understand this. You and your human partner have achieved what few could imagine. You have bridged worlds not only through diplomacy and technology, but through life itself. This changes everything." James looked at Lyra, a mixture of amazement and joy in his eyes. "Lyra, this is incredible. Our collaboration, it's not just work, it's life." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight and wonder of the Queen's words. She had always believed that humans were fragile, that their ways were unpredictable. But now she saw them in a new light. Humans had courage, ingenuity, and resilience. They had the ability to adapt, to inspire, and perhaps most remarkably, they had changed the impossible into reality. That evening, Lyra and James returned to the observation deck, gazing at the stars. The universe stretched endlessly before them, filled with possibilities and unknowns. For the first time, Lyra felt not fear or doubt, but hope. "Do you think this is just the beginning?" she asked softly. James smiled. "I know it is. Humans survive, adapt, and create. And now we are not alone. Together we can face whatever the galaxy holds." Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the strange, miraculous changes within her body. For centuries, her people had believed certain things were impossible. And yet here she was, proof that even the rules of life could be rewritten through cooperation, courage, and understanding. The Queen's words echoed in her mind. Humans can influence even what we believed immutable. Lyra realized that this was more than a personal miracle. It was a symbol, a promise that the future of Zoria and perhaps the galaxy could be shaped not by fear or rigidity, but by partnership, respect, and the courage to embrace the unexpected. And in that quiet moment, beneath the sparkling stars and twin moons, Lyra understood something profound. Humans were not just allies, they were a source of strength, inspiration, and hope. And together, they would achieve wonders beyond imagination. The moons of Zoria glowed softly in the night sky as Lyra walked through the palace gardens. Her steps were slower now, and a gentle curve of life within her made every movement deliberate. She had spent the past months learning the rhythms of her body, which the Zorian oracle had long said would never carry life. Yet here she was, proof of the impossible. Humans had always surprised her, but now their influence had gone further than she could have imagined. James walked beside her, hands gently brushing hers, a quiet support that had become constant in her life. Together, they had navigated challenges, faced dangers, and learned to trust each other. And now, the future of two species rested in the life growing inside Lyra. "Do you ever think about what they will be like?" James asked softly, his eyes on the twinkling moons. Lyra smiled. "I do. I imagine them curious, brave, and clever like their father and like me, I hope." James laughed lightly. "If they inherit even half of human adaptability, they'll be remarkable. And if they inherit your mind, the galaxy will be lucky to have them." Lyra felt warmth rise to her cheeks. Praise was rare in her culture, especially from royalty, yet James spoke with honesty, not flattery. She realized once again that humans had a way of inspiring courage and hope simply by believing in possibilities. Word of Lyra's pregnancy spread quietly among the court. Advisors whispered, some in awe, others in disbelief. The Queen, Zalaria, remained composed, though her eyes betrayed curiosity, wonder, and a flicker of uncertainty. She had expected many outcomes from this alliance, but the miraculous life growing inside Lyra was far beyond her predictions. When the Queen summoned Lyra and James to the throne room, both approached with a mixture of reverence and nervous anticipation. The throne room was vast, bathed in pale light that reflected off crystal walls and silent as a cathedral. "You have done what few could imagine," the Queen said, her voice steady but layered with astonishment. "Your work has protected our colonies, your collaboration has bridged worlds, and now life itself grows within you. I am without words." Lyra bowed, her hands resting lightly on her stomach. "I do not understand it, Mother. I never thought this could happen, yet here we are." Zalaria's eyes softened, and she stepped closer. This is, more than a miracle, it is proof. Proof that humans are not only resilient but capable of inspiring change in even the most advanced civilizations. Their courage, their creativity, their adaptability, it has touched you and it has touched the Empire itself. James, standing beside Lyra, nodded humbly. Your Majesty, I never expected to achieve this, but Lyra, she has guided me every step of the way. Without her, none of this would be possible. The Queen studied them both. She felt pride, but also a strange, new emotion, something between astonishment and hope. Her daughter had proven that life, cooperation, and courage could defy expectations. And the human had helped make it possible. Months passed. Lyra's pregnancy progressed with careful monitoring, blending Zorian technology with human ingenuity. James remained a constant presence, learning from her needs, protecting her, and marveling at the life growing inside her. Together, they prepared for the arrival of their children, designing nurseries that combined human creativity and Zorian precision. Lyra found joy in the little things, the sound of James' laughter, the way he described the stars and planets, and the moments when he would place his hand on her belly, speaking softly to the children within. She had expected duty and obligation to define this union, yet love, respect, and hope had crept quietly into their lives. One evening, as the twin suns set over the palace gardens, Lyra and James sat on a balcony overlooking the city. I wonder, Lyra said, what they will look like. Will they have my eyes, your curiosity? James smiled. They will be a blend of both worlds, and that is the most beautiful thing. They will carry the strengths of humans and Zorians and perhaps teach both of us something new. Lyra nodded, feeling a quiet certainty. She had learned that humans had a unique strength, a combination of adaptability, courage, and hope that could change what seemed impossible. And now that strength would live on in their children. The day finally arrived. Lyra went into labor within the safety of the palace medical wing, surrounded by advanced technology and skilled caregivers from both human and Zorian backgrounds. James held her hand, whispering encouragements, grounding her in calm and courage. Hours passed, filled with precise monitoring, guidance, and determination. And then the first cries echoed through the chamber, the sound of life, of possibility, of two species united in a miracle no one could have predicted. Twins, healthy, vibrant, and full of potential. One with Zorian features softened by human warmth, the other with human curiosity marked by Zorian strength. Lyra held them close, feeling a bond deeper than she had ever imagined, while James marveled at the tiny beings that represented hope, unity, and the future. Word of the births reached the Queen almost immediately. She arrived at the medical wing with measured steps, her presence commanding yet reflective. When she saw the children, she froze, not out of fear, not out of anger, but out of awe. Before her were living proof of the impossible, children who embodied both Zorian intellect and human ingenuity, curiosity, and resilience. They were vibrant, healthy, and full of potential that seemed to radiate through the room. The Queen approached slowly, her eyes studying the twins. She had prepared herself for many outcomes, but this was beyond comprehension. Her daughter, once believed Barren, had given birth. And these children, these miraculous beings, symbolized something far greater than family. They represented a bridge between worlds. Lyra, seeing her mother's astonishment, spoke softly. "Mother, they are our children. But more than that, they are proof that humans and Zorians can create something extraordinary together." Zalaria remained silent for a long moment, studying the children. Then she knelt, an almost unheard-of gesture of reverence in her culture, and whispered, "Remarkable beyond all expectation." As the weeks unfolded, the twins grew stronger, and the palace filled with a new kind of energy. Courtiers and advisors visited, observing the children with curiosity and awe. Many whispered that this was the beginning of a new era for the Empire, one where cooperation, understanding, and courage were as valued as power and precision. James and Lyra adapted to their new roles as parents, balancing care with their responsibilities to the Empire. Lyra marveled at the human qualities their children exhibited, their curiosity, their willingness to explore, their emotional intelligence. James admired the way they showed Zorian discipline and wisdom. It was clear to both parents that these children were more than heirs. They were symbols. Symbols of hope, unity, and the incredible potential that arose when two worlds worked together. The Queen observed quietly from the throne room, her thoughts filled with reflection. For centuries, her people had believed in strict rules, predictability, and control. But these children challenged every expectation. They were proof that even the most advanced civilizations could learn, adapt, and grow through cooperation. Zalaria called for a council meeting, and for the first time, spoke openly about the significance of Lyra's children. "Our empire has achieved many things," she said, her voice steady, filled with newfound conviction. "But never before have we witnessed life that embodies both strength and adaptability from two species. These children are a living testament that the galaxy is larger than our understanding, and that humans possess qualities we can learn from, respect, and celebrate." The advisors listened, some skeptical, some amazed. But the message was clear. Humans had changed not only Lyra, but the very course of the Zorian Empire. One evening, Lyra and James stood in the palace gardens, holding their children. The twin suns had set, leaving a sky filled with stars, moons, and distant planets. The children slept peacefully in their arms, small beings with infinite potential. James whispered, "We did not expect this, but it is perfect. They are perfect." Lyra nodded, feeling the depth of truth in his words. "It is more than we could have imagined. Humans, they have a strength I never understood before. Courage, creativity, hope, and now it lives in them." James smiled. "And it lives in the future, too. They will grow, learn, and inspire. Just as humans have inspired you, they will inspire others." Lyra looked toward the palace, where the queen watched silently from a balcony. The expression on Zalaria's face had softened over the months. She had begun to understand what Lyra had learned. Strength is not only in power or intellect. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in courage, cooperation, and the ability to inspire growth beyond expectation. In that quiet moment, Lyra understood the truth of it all. Humans were not only capable of survival, they were capable of transformation. And together, humans and Zorians had created something extraordinary: life, hope, and a future that could not have existed otherwise. The twins stirred in their arms, tiny hands reaching toward the stars. Lyra and James exchanged a look filled with wonder and determination. They had survived challenges, faced impossible odds, and now held the living proof that cooperation, respect, and courage could change the galaxy itself. And the queen, finally, allowed herself to smile, not as a ruler, but as a grandmother witnessing the dawn of a new era. The twin suns of Zoria rose slowly over the capital city, casting long shadows across the crystal towers that shimmered like mirrors in the early morning light. Birds with radiant feathers, unique to this world, sang from the highest spires, announcing the dawn. Today, the palace was unusually busy. Courtiers, ambassadors, and citizens alike filled the grand halls, their whispers weaving a thread of excitement and curiosity through the air. The reason for the unusual gathering was extraordinary. Queen Zalaria had summoned the assembly to witness an announcement that could change the course of the empire. Word had spread of Lyra's miraculous children, and humans had begun to gain respect not only for their ingenuity, but for their role in shaping the future of Zoria. This was more than diplomacy, it was history. Lyra and James stood at the palace entrance, holding their twins. The children were bright-eyed, alert, and full of energy despite their small size. One resembled Zorian features softened by human warmth, the other showed human traits balanced by Zorian discipline. Together, they symbolized the union of two worlds, proof that cooperation could create life, understanding, and hope. James adjusted the cloak around Lyra's shoulders gently, his hand brushing hers in silent encouragement. "Are you ready?" he asked. Lyra took a deep breath. "I am. For the first time, I feel ready for anything." The queen appeared on the high dais, her presence commanding as always, yet something had changed. Her posture, though regal, carried a sense of reflection and wonder. When she looked at her daughter and the human beside her, she did not see uncertainty, fear, or duty. She saw courage, ingenuity, and partnership. She saw the future. "People of Zoria," Zalaria began, her voice echoing through the grand hall, "today we witness something extraordinary. We celebrate not only the birth of new life, but the birth of a new understanding between two worlds." The assembly fell silent. Even seasoned ambassadors and officials leaned forward, sensing the weight of her words. Lyra stepped forward, holding the twins carefully. "These children are proof that humans and Zorians, though different, can cooperate, learn from each other, and achieve what we once thought impossible." James nodded. We have faced challenges together, tasks that tested our minds, courage, and patience. And now we celebrate the results. Cooperation, respect, and courage have created life itself, and with it, a future for both our species. The Queen's eyes glimmered. For centuries, we have believed that strength lies in knowledge, precision, and discipline. And yet these children show us another kind of strength, the strength of adaptability, creativity, and hope. Humans possess these qualities, and through them, our people have grown in ways we could not have imagined. The courtiers and advisors exchanged astonished glances. Some struggled to reconcile their traditions with what they were witnessing. But the Queen's words carried authority, clarity, and vision. Slowly, understanding spread. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were partners, and these children were living proof. Lyra and James carefully handed the twins to the Queen. For a moment, Zalaria hesitated, her hands hovering above them. Then, with reverent care, she held them. She studied their tiny faces, their fingers curling instinctively, their breathing calm and steady. "They are perfect," she whispered, not in the sense of physical perfection, but in the wonder of possibility. "They carry both our knowledge and your courage, your creativity and our discipline. They are the future." Lyra felt tears welling in her eyes. This had always been her greatest fear, that she could not contribute to the Empire, that she could not fulfill her duty. And yet here, in her mother's arms, her children symbolized not only her own triumph, but the potential for all Zorians and humans to grow together. James placed a hand gently on Lyra's shoulder. "They will inspire generations," he said softly. "Just as humans have inspired us, they will inspire the Empire." The Queen straightened, lifting her gaze to the assembly. "Let this day mark the beginning of a new era," she announced. "An era in which humans and Zorians will not only coexist but thrive together. An era in which courage, creativity, and cooperation are valued as highly as knowledge and precision. The birth of these children is a symbol, a reminder that strength is found not only in power but in partnership." The crowd erupted in applause. Some cried. Some knelt, overwhelmed by the significance of the moment. Lyra and James exchanged a look, both filled with pride, gratitude, and a deep sense of responsibility. They knew that the work was far from over, these children, and the promise they represented would need guidance, protection, and support. In the weeks that followed, the Empire began to change. Policies were adjusted to encourage collaboration with humans. Scientific projects were launched that combined human creativity with Zorian precision. Diplomats and engineers from both species began to train together, sharing knowledge, learning new methods, and finding solutions that neither could have achieved alone. Lyra continued to work closely with James, balancing her duties as a mother, diplomat, and scientist. Every day brought new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities for cooperation. She saw the children grow quickly, their curiosity insatiable, their minds sharp, and their spirits unyielding. One afternoon, as she observed them exploring the palace gardens, Lyra reflected on how far she and James had come. "I never imagined this," she whispered to James. "Not just the children, but all of it. The cooperation, the respect, the understanding. The humans, they have taught us so much." James smiled, lifting one of the twins onto his shoulder. "And they will continue to teach us. Humans are resilient, we adapt, we survive, and we inspire, just like these children will inspire your people and the galaxy." Lyra nodded, feeling a deep sense of certainty. They had done more than create life. They had created hope, understanding, and a bridge between worlds. The Queen, watching from her private chambers, reflected on the transformation she had witnessed. Her daughter had proven that miracles could happen. Humans, once considered outsiders, had shown qualities that could not be measured by technology, intellect, or power alone. They had resilience, courage, adaptability, and an ability to inspire hope and change. Zalaria convened a meeting of the Council to solidify new policies. "The galaxy is vast, filled with unknowns and possibilities," she said. "We cannot face it alone. Cooperation is not a choice, it is a necessity. And humans, with their ingenuity and courage, are allies we must embrace fully. Let us learn from them and let them learn from us. Together, we will achieve greatness." Advisors and diplomats nodded, some reluctantly, some with enthusiasm. But the presence of the twins served as a constant reminder that this was no longer theoretical. Life itself demanded unity, understanding, and courage. As months turned into years, Lyra and James, children grew stronger, smarter, and more adventurous. They explored the palace, interacted with humans and Zorians, and demonstrated an extraordinary ability to blend the best traits of both species. The Empire adapted around them, learning from their curiosity and their example. Lyra watched them one evening from the balcony, James beside her. The twins were laughing as they chased small robotic drones, their small hands reaching for the sky. "They will change everything," Lyra said softly. James nodded. "They will. They are proof that humans can inspire, teach, and create what others think impossible, and they carry both our worlds inside them." Lyra smiled, a deep sense of peace settling over her. She had feared failure, she had doubted herself, and she had worried about the future. But now, standing here with James, watching their children explore and learn, she realized that the greatest strength of humanity was not in technology or power. It was in hope, courage, creativity, and the ability to work together to achieve the impossible. The Queen joined them on the balcony, her eyes on the children. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel awe without restraint. "They are remarkable," she said quietly. "And so are you both. The future of the Empire is brighter than I ever imagined." Lyra took her mother's hand, feeling the warmth and pride in her touch. "It is not just us, Mother. It is the humans, their courage, their ingenuity, their hope. It has changed us, our people, and now our children." Zalaria nodded, understanding finally that strength was more than knowledge, discipline, or power. It was also resilience, courage, and the ability to inspire others. And humans, through their presence, their actions, and now their children, had shown her the truth. The palace was quiet that night, filled with the soft breathing of sleeping children, the gentle hum of Zorian technology, and the peaceful presence of two species united in hope. Lyra and James sat together, holding hands, watching the stars. "Do you think we did enough?" Lyra asked softly. James squeezed her hand. "We did more than enough. We showed that humans can survive, adapt, and inspire, and now our children will continue that legacy." Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of completion and anticipation. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, but she knew one thing with certainty. Humanity's strength lay in courage, creativity, and hope. And together, humans and Zorians could face anything. The Queen watched from the balcony, the twins sleeping peacefully, and finally allowed herself a full, unguarded smile. For the first time in her reign, she felt the Empire was not only safe, but ready to embrace the infinite possibilities of the galaxy. And so a new era began, one of cooperation, understanding, and hope. Humans and Zorians working together would explore the stars, face challenges, and achieve wonders that neither species could accomplish alone. The twins stirred in their sleep, tiny hands reaching toward the heavens, and the promise of a brighter, united future stretched endlessly before them.